Right, that's our old blades sharpened and ready to go in, which means we're going to have to put in the old cutter blocks as well. However, the most important thing, the thing we've been waiting for, has arrived. So I'm not sure where all the excitement in life is with unboxing. I'm just not there. I've got an idea. For some unboxing videos, right? Because I don't know where the excitement is. I've got Dex's Midnight Runners just come on. Oh, did I have a disaster yesterday? I needed some new music on my iPod. I have 3,700 and something. So, because oh, that's another story about my computer. But anyway, so I decided, since I've had 25 quid, £25 in my iTunes account for who knows how long, I would buy some more tunes. And with that £25, I managed to buy 244 songs, tracks. So I connected up my iPod to my laptop, which doesn't have iTunes on it, and I downloaded iTunes for Windows 7 because the only computer I have with Windows 10 on it is the computer I use as little as I can possibly get away with it. I hate Windows 10. I'm passionate about how much I hate for Windows 10. Windows 10 was designed for tablets, not for PCs. Anyway, there's no point me having a rant about that because we're doing an unboxing. In the process of downloading 244 tracks, I lost 3,792. Gone. Now, not a problem, all backed up to my computer, but a certain government agency decided to hack my computer and kill my hard drives. And they went with that, despite it being recovered by a very, very clever man. Yeah, disaster. So all I've got now is 244 tunes on my iPod. What do I listen to on my iPod? I like it. And besides that, my iPhone, which I've only just acquired, is up there. So, unboxing. What are we waiting for? It's not even a box, is it? We're unshrink wrapping. Don't put a hole in it, Tom. Right. This is what we need. So, after years of making do with what I've got no choice, but I've had to buy some new pipe. Like that hurt. That hurt a lot. Should have been here weeks ago, but you know, people lie, don't they? Everybody lies all the time. So this is 15 metres of 4-inch tube. And this is going to allow us to pipe this machine. And then all we need to do is make up a 3-phase extension for it. Put all the cutters back in and we might be able to use it. There we go. It's a bit harder than I'd like, but it is quite thick, I suppose, so it won't wear out for a while. There should be 15 metres here. It don't look like 15 metres, I've got to say, but it should be. I'll tell you why I'm measuring it. Because it pains me to say, it really pains me to say, I don't trust the company I bought it from. If we don't get an accurate result doing it this way, then we'll have to change tack, but we'd like it to be somewhere near what it is we pay for. Right, what have we got there? Ah, yeah, that's 15 metres. It might be 100 mil short, but It's 15 metres. Right. Now all we've got to decide is how we're going to pipe it. So I've decided this is the best position for the machine. It's not ideal. It's not ideal, but without going to a great deal of changing around. So this machine was already here and the bagging units were already there and the extraction unit was already there. This I've moved. This was much lower and further up, and I've moved it into the middle and made it higher. That works much better. In here we've got the spindle moulder. There's a small planer and mortiser over there. There's a wheelie round bagging unit there. And the new bandsaw there. And you see I've got this triple in the middle. There's a little sander. I use that so regularly, I wish that wasn't there. Anyway, where this project is, and this is a project for another day, but I kind of roughed it out. It's actually a bench sofa. I'm doing a toadstool and, well, I was going to do a jumping trout in the end there, but we'll see. We've got, anyway. So, this is where I've put it, which still allows me to use the thicknesser to here, and the bandsaw there and that there. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. And in another life, health and safety would have gone, oh no, you can't. I've got a story about that, but I'm not even gonna, yeah, why not? Health and safety comes into my factory, and the big drum sander is 10 millimetres, 1 centimetre. God knows what that is, third of an inch. Too close, according to his bit of paper, to another machine. And they put a prohibition notice on my door. Shut down the factory. All the men, just stop, shut down this health and safety. So I said, no problem. I said, get ready to take your prohibition notice off the door. I'll resolve the problem right now. I got on my forklift, I drove through the factory, I hit that sander, bang, just like that. And that shunted it at 10 mil. I said, now go back with your tape measure, take your prohibition notice off, and sling your rook. Oh, there we go, we've got a visitor. Right, so we've got extraction here for the left head. We've got extraction there for the top head, and we've got an extraction unit down there for the bottom head, and then we've got another extraction over here outlet for the right head. So I'm now going to try and configure all of that so that I can connect it all up with as little interference as everything is possible. It does mean that I'm probably going to have to use this mobile unit, and it also means that I'm going to have to disconnect everything that is connected here. Right, so we've got the thicknesser, we've got the sander, and then we've got the bandsaw. So the bandsaw, this one here, which is the thicknesser, and the sander. So we're going to disconnect those in such a way as we can reconnect them, but most importantly, so we can connect this up. Will this be able to cope with pulling off of the shavings? Yes. Will that single bagging unit over there be able to cope with the suction and pulling it all off? No. And even if it does, we're going to be turning this off every 5 minutes to change the bag. So I think I've already had this rant about bags. So we do have this twin unit here, which has got more suck, which is on this machine here. Now this machine is 600 top planer and a spindle moulder at the end. It did used to have a saw here, but I burned that out a long time ago. Replaced it with this. Saw burnt out. So those that you know, these are all three-phase motors. And when a three-phase motor burns out, you take it to a little old man and he rewinds it. And it works. Nobody knows what I'm talking about here. I want this motor rewound, and they tell me to contact an electrician. No, don't need an electrician. I need somebody that rewinds motors. Anyway, so this motor's burnt out. Not too much of an issue because I didn't like that saw anyway, and I've replaced it with a bandsaw. So I've got this, and behind here, let's move all this. Behind there, I've got a Y, so I may well utilise that. The downside to utilising that means I either have to go up and over or across the floor. Now, across the floor is not ideal in any circumstances, but this door here is the only door in and out of not only my factory, but also our house, apartment where we live. So everything comes through here. So not ideal, but if I can fabricate a couple of quick clamps, quick clips, something so that when that's in use, it goes across the floor, I don't know. That's my spare wheel off the Land Cruiser. And this is ready to go down into the cellar now. All the machinery has to go down in the cellar. Not ideal, my welding benches. Anyway. Right, let's see what we can come up with. Right, where have I got to? Well, I'm not very happy about any of it, if I'm honest. So that's the most powerful suction machine. So I've used the Y on there, which means this machine can't be used at the moment, fair enough. And I've connected one up to the side head there. And this one, because it's the strongest, on the bottom head. The bottom head's going to take a lot of suck. And then I've got the top head going down underneath there, up there, and connected into that triple, which I can open and close the various ones with slides. And then this side one, well, this comes out of here, joins into a pipe much too small for it because I didn't want the bagging machine here either, snakes around the floor and comes over to this bagging machine here. Now this bagging machine here has got a long extension, plugs into there, plugs into the wall. So I borrowed that extension to plug it into the machine. Here. And as you can see, there's a light. Right, well, there's more than a light. I can actually make it function if I want. However, different parts of this factory are wired in different ways. And the three-phase is also wired in different ways. I don't know why. I don't know why. So, that socket there is different to that socket there, is different to that socket there. Why? I don't know. But what I do know is if you plug that machine in there, to that socket there, it runs backwards. And if you plug it into that socket over there, it runs backwards. And if you plug it into that socket there, it runs forwards. So now I've got this cable, which I don't want running all the way along, and I've got the machine looking like this. I mean, if ever there was an accident waiting to happen, there it is. So I've got these suction tubes going right across the walkway there. That's not good. I've got this suction tube going across this walkway here in front of this saw. That's definitely not good. Can I go up with it? Yeah, maybe. But then you're going to end up with a large loop. Yeah, what a... So again, I'll reiterate, if this was staying here, I would deal with it in a whole different way. And ideally, it would sit probably where this saw is on a permanent basis, and I would run a second overhead duct from this machine up and over down to here to cope with the pull-off. But it's not. So in spring, at the end of the winter, I'm going to lose this machine again. And it's got to be unplugged and taken away. So, but what we don't want to do is, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just ridiculous. In addition to that, we can't run the bottom head because I can see a problem. And that is, this little cutter here is hitting this forward plate. That's not good. But the other thing that's not good is the side head, the noise that it's making. Not that one, it's this one. That's bearings. That's what that is. Too heavy a load on too much of a toy bearing. The bearings are shot in the lead head, which is the right side. This side head here. It's even better if we open up the top. That one there, the bearings are all shot on that. So now I've got to disassemble it and look at the bearings. So I thought I was getting somewhere close to being able to use it. No, take this lot off, take the casing off, take the excess to the bearings and the motor, and yeah, the bearings are shot. They ain't brilliant in there either. I don't feel too bad, but I can hear something not nice in there. Here's this little problem, look. It's just a minor problem. Which means these plates that I've put back in here, well, I thought they went in the right place, but quite clearly they're not. Just as well I checked that before I turned everything on. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Check everything's free and there's nothing loose in there. Now that was turning smoothly, but now I can feel something grinding on that. You hear that rubbing? That's not good. These should all be silent. Everything should be silent. Quiet as mices. Oh, you can see chains loose in there. See if I can get you in there. No, that's no good. Well, we know what's next, don't we? We got to break down this machine. Now, I know he said there was a few things needed doing, but is there something on my forehead there? I don't know. Okay, well, let's break it down. Alright, what have we found? Okay, so these shafts, these have got sealed bearings. Can I feel any movement on the shaft itself? Yeah, a little, but that's not the worst of what I found. So I'll take an inspection cover off here. And this is the shaft housing, this is the bottom of the shaft there. You'll be able to see, right, but the bolts are all loose. That's not good. In addition to that, I think the bearings, you can see it better on that one over there. They've got a bolt there, in which allows you to tighten and loosen the motor to the shaft belt there. Now, I don't know if that's the original bolt on that one over there or not, but it's a long way out. But the bolt on the back of this, here, behind this, on the other side of the shaft, is wound all the way in, hard, tight, so you can't undo it. Now, it's only a rubber belt, so if you was to over tighten these nuts, you put such a strain on the bottom bearing, as well as this being the lead-in head at the top, you could easily throw the bearings out, very easily. Has somebody been in here before? Yep. Yes, they have. So, I don't know why. You can quite clearly see they're loose. I don't know why they're loose, or how far to go. But you can see there's lots of loose. You can see down in that one there, there's cable conduits not in the right place. Somebody's definitely had this apart at some point. And very possibly, if they're not familiar with machines and bearings and stuff, over tighten stuff. So I think the first thing to do is back off the tensioner nut in here somehow and see because this belt's very tight. And then do these nuts up tight, and then see what it feels like after we've done that. The chains, yeah, they're quite loose, but only at the bottom. And that's supposed to be a chain tensioner. Looks like that's been made to tension this. Yeah, that's a. It looks like somebody's made that up to try and keep that taut. I don't think there's enough room in these chains to be able to take a link out yet, but they've definitely stretched. What's that? That don't look good. That don't look good at all. Looks like it is a link. It's a link there without a circlip on it. So, well, this was just holding together, wasn't it? All right, we're going to start. We'll start with this head first, because we can't have it making that noise if the bearings have gone. Then we've got to start by replacing bearings. And then we're just going to check this one out. I think this one's not too bad. This wasn't making a noise, but something's rubbing over there. We need to check that out, otherwise we'll have something overheating or worse. Is that more loose? Yeah, more loose nuts. I think this is a inspection plate here, when we can see behind this. Oh, there we go, a heat spot, look at that. All right, we'll carry on. Before we carry on, let's just have, is that the right size for that? Let's just have this inspection plate off and see what we're going to find in there. Something not very pretty, I suspect. Looking at that heat spot there. What you don't want with a woodworking machine in an environment like this is, firstly, you don't want to be tripping over all these hoses and tubes and Christ knows what else, but what you don't want is anything getting excessively hot, because that's how your fire starts. I know more about fires in woodworking factories than I should. And not one of them has been caused through cigarettes, flammable liquids, electricity failures, or carelessness. All the fires have been caused through wow. Wow. Right. Look at that. That's actually worn its way. There's a... Right. This can cause fires. And that, look at that. I bet that don't make a noise now. Funny that, isn't it? Right, that's obviously got a self-tensioner on it. You can see the motor wiggling inside there. So that keeps that tight. So what we need is some spacers to space this off. So this will heat up here like this and down there. That causes fires. You get your things heating up, they drop down here in the sawdust, and you'll finish for the day and go away, and when you come back in the morning there'll be nothing left. Or in my case, when I go to sleep at night, I won't be waking up in the morning, because the factory would have burnt down. Right, that's not good at all. Look at that. That's not good at all. We'll clean that up. and then we'll make some spaces for that and space that off and clean all this grease and oil off of here. You've got grease with fine dust with, well, that was just gonna, yeah. Right, well, that's our fire start. That's one way our fires start. I've just got this new head torch and it is very good. It's the best head torch I've got. Right, so we know what we're doing there. If we go back round there and just check that top head now. I won't suppose for 1 minute. That makes a noise. No. Right, let's put that down. And make sure that runs silently. Take the emergency stop off. Over. What's open now? Oh, right, there we go. Over. Have a squeak from the belt. Right, what we shouldn't be having is screeches from the belts on start up because it's not even got any blocks or cutters in it yet. But I think yeah, we're just going to check the tensioner on that as well because I don't think that belt, I think some belts are too tight and some belts are too loose. I'm glad tune on that. Right. Okay, so I'm working my way through this. Another tool. So I've just had to cut down this Allen key, and so it's the right length. You'll see why, and just take the burrs off the edges so it fits. So we're still working on this side here. And in order to do this, a standard length key is too long to go in there. So I've cut this one down so I can turn it. And I've tightened up all 4 nuts in there. So that's quite tight. I think we've just got to test this one now and see what kind of noise it makes. This was another issue here, this lip with these packed plates. Well, I've actually cut a slice off of those now so that won't ever hit those again. I'm not quite sure why they weren't quite the right size, but there was a whole issue with all of this. The owner said that it wasn't flat and it wouldn't work. If we take a straight edge now, there's no problem there. So we now know that the lead in and the beds are flat and true all the way through. So that will stop that. So another thing I've realised about this machine is on real machines, of course, these wind up and down and in and out. But this being a basic machine, it only winds in and out. So the way that you move the blocks is you shim them up and down on the shaft. So I understand that now. I didn't understand that. I'm looking for something to wind this up and in so I can make sure this is clean, but it's not a piston. This is a fixed cast with a bearing housing and a retaining nut, and then you shim the blocks up and down using the many shims that were here. And I was kind of wondering why a machine like this has so many shims. Well, that's why, because you have to shim the blocks up and down. So I have to tighten this one up to stop the screeching, so I think I'll do that before we run the test. And then what we'll do is we'll Not something I recommend to those that have no... Where was I going with this? On this Allen key. Common sense. So a lot of what I say is common sense and obvious. Being a machine operator, especially if you own the machines, you need a degree of mechanical and engineering experience. And if you haven't got a degree of mechanical and engineering experience, you're going to gain some. So as men get older, they have more and more tools. They're forever picking up tools, and I'm the same. You have, 40 flathead screwdrivers. You really don't need flathead screwdrivers anymore, but you do need a few. But when you start making up tools, and we've made up several now, all these spanners we've made up, thin tools. Some areas on the wall have got areas for tooling for certain machines, and I have a tooling room. But with this, where it's mobile and it's going backwards and forwards, all the tools you make up for the different jobs, I'm going to put in a toolbox and keep with the machine. Write on it, mark it up, and then everything that you're likely to need quick maintenance on the machine, you haven't got to go searching for the Allen key that you cut down. You just put it all in the one toolbox, mark it up what that machine is. This is a Logosol, this is a, what is this? Can't remember, PH260. It's this light, it's so bright. Put all the tools with the machine. Right, so that's this one, this head's ready for testing. We're going to tighten up that other belt, and then we're going to do a live hood open test on it without any cutters and any blades, and then we can start putting the covers back on. And of course I've got to pack out this other cover that just not good. Right, so what I've noticed is this one, this is the casing for this set of wheels. This has spacers, but this round here does not, and it only has 3 bolts and it should have 4. So we need to make some spacers for this. So what I've done is I've taken some geyser from my parts cleaner, and I've pre-wiped down all this grease and fine sawdust, and I've done it on there. Whilst looking, I've taken the belt off, whilst looking for the source of the grease. And I can't find the source of the grease anywhere. I just don't know how that much grease has got in there. So I've pre-soaked it in order to wipe it off. I've got the belt off, which on the outside looks new. However, we can see that that belt's been squealing for a while. I don't know if you can pick that up, but it's kind of shiny and worn. So, en route to what we're doing, parts cleaner, geyser, we've got that. We'll wipe all that off with rag. Now, in my store, where I keep a bit of everything I can get my hands on, I have a collection of belts, all of which might be too big. Right. I probably need to go through this. Alright, it's very possible I've got a belt up there. A view of my store from above. There. I'll keep everything I can get my hands on. Now it seems a bit dark in here because it's now the 1st of October and we're coming into dark season. Right, what do we have in here? Okay, rubber bands, old belts. Aha! There we go, machine belts. What does that look like? Doesn't look much better than the one we've got on there. That's a new one over there. That's all sawmill blades, sawmill equipment. No, okay. we'll go and get that other. Belt and see what we can find. And the box of rag. The box of rag was on the parts cleaner. We'll need some rag to wipe that lot off. We'll also need a wire brush. Now, see, this is what I use. You fill these up with geyser, connect them to the air, shoots out of a fine jet at this end. This is what you'd use outside, but you wouldn't want to use it inside because it will spray geyser in places you don't want it on a machine, and you'll forever have slipping belts, unless you've got any belt slip, of course. We'll go and see if we can find a new one of those, but this, see that, you know, that might not even be grease. That might be a belt slip or some other kind of, oh, that's going to come off of there all right. But this is what you don't want inside a machine, especially if you've got metal to metal rubbing and heating up, because you'll be having fires real fast. Yeah, that's going to clean up nicely. Right, I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I've cleaned all this up now, and this needs spacing off of the machine to stop it from rubbing and wearing and ultimately causing a fire. So here I have a bit of old copper tube, and the nuts or the bolts, they fit inside like that. And what I'm going to do is measure how far off it needs to be. 40 millimeters. Well, we've got the thickness of that, which is 4 millimeters. So that should give us a 4 millimeter gap off the machine. So with that in mind, I'm going to use this pipe cutter on there, spin it round, doing it up as you go. For all you that know how to use one of these, you don't need me to tell you, but give it a few turns, tighten it up, and there's a centre wheel inside there running on 2 rollers, and that's cutting through the pipe. It cuts quite well and it cuts quite fast, but the copper pipes we have here are quite a bit thicker than normal. Right, there we go. We'll make up 4 of these. So I also found, these are the bolts that we have, and I've got one missing. Well, what's important is I've got an M8 metric thread, albeit it's brass and it's long. So we'll cut this down to the right length. And whilst these are Allen keys and that's a 10mm, it will do the job. So how these work is you put your bolts in like this, and at the moment there's nothing to stop this being pushed against the machine. Once they're on, you won't be able to tighten this down onto these wheels, and this will stop this rubbing and the burning. So I'll make up the other 2. And before I've done that, you can see I've also cleaned off all this nastiness. So we've yet to deal with the belt and the tightening up, and then once we've done that and made another 2 of these, we'll fit this side, and that'll be work on the top head completed.